This year marks the 50th anniversary of Toho's Zone Fighter, and since I never actually got around to watching it fully, I figured what better time than now to check out the series.
This is part 6 and the final part of my series review. Episode 22, Counter-Strike, Defeat Super Jakiro. Zone Kid and Sister are worried that they might miss a movie when they realize their clock is going backwards. Compasses are also apparently working incorrectly. A monster, Super Jakiro, comes up out of the sea and destroys a boat. This is actually the monster from episode 1, but super. I wouldn't have even thought to look it up if Zone Fighter didn't mention that he's dealt with this particular terror beast before. Zone Fighter jumps on the water and tries to defeat Super Jakiro, but is unable to. Zone Fighter, I guess trying to go home, then gets in a car accident and is taken to the hospital. Doctors suspect that due to his injuries that he is not an ordinary man. The lady that took Zone Fighter to the hospital, an intern there, and seems to be helping with his physical therapy, appears to be a sort of love interest and even joins along to look for parts of Jakiro to analyze. She has a nice smile. And she gets shot. But she's alright. While the older zones are researching that part of Jakiro, Zone Fighter goes into surgery, which is cut short because the Garoga have replaced some of the staff. Intern lady is given a necklace that will attract Jakiro and gets on a boat. Boat is hijacked by Garoga. Jakiro shows up and Zone Fighter does too to fight him. Zone Sister and Kid show up to fight the Garoga on the boat. Bad guys eventually are defeated. There's some underwater vehicular hijinks that were at least different, and I like Junko Wagasuki as the pseudo love interest wanna help protect Earth at all costs figure. But as a whole, the episode didn't do much for me. Episode 23, Secret of Bakugan, the giant terror beast. This one starts out interesting. A couple and their daughter are driving their new car, and only the daughter knows that they're driving on a railroad until they get in an accident and are thrown out. Some guy thinks he's water skiing, but he's actually just on land. The Garoga's new plan is to confuse the humans enough to cause their own downfall, which includes sending the hallucination monster Bakugan to Earth. There's also this mysterious lady in black who seems to be working with the Garoga, probably just a Garoga in a costume. She does this weird thing, and I guess can become the form of these two now. Some kids are deceived. A rose that is really barbed wire. Wonderful. So the kids are playing in a scrapyard, and they want nothing to do with the Zone Kid, even throwing rocks at him. Woman in black was a Garoga. We get some pretty good earthquake shots as Bakugan rises. Weird looking guy. Fire comes out of his anteater nose. You can very clearly see the holes where the suit actor is looking through in some shots. Thankfully, the hallucination monster at least gets to confuse Zone Fighter to where he is during the fight. Wish he did more tricks, but at least he got to do something of the sort. Missiles finish him off. Episode 24, Defeat the needle-spitting terror beast, Needler. Two men are hiking in the rain when they come across a large house. They ring and knock, but no one answers. In the window, they can see an old man seated. They find an unlocked door, enter, and try to talk to him. He falls out of his chair, presumably dead. They run away, but then come across strange lights and a single-file line of villagers who seem kind of zombified. Good, mysterious way to start an episode. One of those guys was one of our Zone's friends who is now telling them about what he saw. Zone Fighter and Sister investigate the house and find a journal where the old man wrote about the strange light and a mysterious noise. Surprise to no one probably, the cause is Garoga. The Zones fall victim to the sleepy sound and drive off a cliff. They're okay though. And they sneak into the Garoga base that has been emitting the strange lights and noises. The Garoga have been taking control of people and turning them into cyborgs. The Garoga recognize the zones and begin to do the procedure on them. Zone Kid rescues them in time. Needler shows up. He has flamethrower breath. But outside of that, I don't really like him. There's more set pieces in this fight aside from just Zone Fighter and monsters slapping each other, but I still wasn't into it. Well, I will give props to this triple back handspring tracking shot and the POV missile barrage. You know what? Bloody decapitation too. I do like the premise of this episode, and I think when the Garoga somewhat succeed in some of their plans, it's kind of needed as to actually feel like a villainous entity and not just bug guys who probably can't open a jar of pickles. Episode 25, Carnage. Zone and Godzilla versus the Terror Beast Grand Alliance. Alright, we are at the penultimate episode. 4 Terror Beasts are unleashed at the same time. I think all ones we've seen before, but don't quote me on that. Then the Garoga shrink them before the Zones can actually see them. The Garoga have 15 capsules of miniature monsters, and then they start randomly tossing them about in lawns, in trash. Silly, but I love that scene. The Zones find some, and yeah, they are Terror Beasts from the Zone's record, so I'm assuming from past episodes. The capsules begin to hatch, and we get some city destruction. Zone Fighter defeats it. Next, he has to fight 3 Terror Beasts at the same time. Monsters have been getting smarter. Here, they don't let him transform, and in recent episodes, they don't let him do his capsule switch easily, which allows him to repower up mid-fight. Anyways, since Zone Fighter can't even transform to giant size, much less defeat the trio of Terror Beasts, Godzilla is sent for. He's just walking this time. Where is that sense of urgency he had in the previous episodes? Come on! Zone Fighter is wildly outmatched. He eventually does show up, with some more weird looking eye shots and his arms still looking bad. Maybe even worse in regards to skin about to fall off. Zone Fighter is back in the bout. This missiles through body effect is decent. Godzilla breath is like a flocked blue, or I don't know the terminology. It's blue and rotoscoped, but sort of a design is given to it. Wild that there's so many different iterations of his breath in this singular season's show. Those monsters are defeated. I don't know about the others. There were 15 capsules, I guess defeated off screen. Episode 26, Pulverize, the Garoga Gamma X strategy. Time for the finale. I was hoping it would end with a 2-parter. Anyways, the Garoga scientists once again fail and then are shot into space via a trapdoor. Yeah, I love that. A special team of Garoga from the main base show up to help. They have a special plate of armor so we can tell them apart from our normal, incompetent ones. A sure to be Garoga in disguise meets a kid in an alleyway and does this to him, which causes him to go blind later, in an attempt to blackmail his dad into stealing some blueprints. He does. Zone Fighter tries to stop him from giving them away, but the Garoga get it and then fights the Zones. The new Garogas combine into Grotigaris, who is like a big Garoga monster, so I guess it's kind of fitting for the finale. I hate his mouth. He has a breath that makes Zone Fighter hallucinate, first into just seeing double, but then into seeing the Zone's sister instead of Grotigaris. Remember when I said I didn't like his teeth? Well, they get punched out. Aside from the monster of the week being Garoga-like, this was a very lackluster finale. I mean, nothing outside of the scope of the episode was solved. The antagonists were only here in this one episode. Actually, none of these tail end episodes really amazed me, but overall, Zone Fighter was okay. There are some really good episodes, both human and monster wise, but there's a lot of episodes that are dull and redundant. An episodic formula is set in play early on in the series, and a lot of the episodes just repeat that without any interesting deviation. But those good episodes make me glad I finally checked out the series, and any show a Godzilla fan should at least check out the Godzilla episodes. Thanks for watching.